Some nights, destiny doesn't knock with a miracle. It knocks with a bill you didn't expect, a silence in your bank account, and a question that quietly changes everything. What if this is the moment I finally become the kind of person who builds wealth slowly, quietly forever? Beloved listeners, dear family of dreamers, thank you for being here. I don't know what kind of day you had before you clicked this video. Maybe you worked a long shift. Maybe you're carrying responsibilities that no one sees. Maybe you're trying to be responsible in a world that rewards impulse and punishes patience. Maybe you've been carrying that quiet fear that everyone else knows something about money that you don't. If that's you, breathe for a second. Because today we're not chasing millions. We're not worshiping overnight success. We're not making promises that sound good in a comment section but collapse in real life. We're talking about something far more powerful. Your first 1,000, not as a number, as a turning point. It's small enough to start without permission, but big enough to change your identity. And identity is the real engine of wealth. I've met people with high incomes who still lived like they were drowning. And I've met people with average salaries who quietly built futures that look like freedom. The difference wasn't luck. It wasn't genius. It wasn't secret information. It was behavior protected by character. One person said, "I'll start when I have more." The other said, "I'll start with what I have and grow into the person who deserves more." That's the deeper meaning of your first 1,000. Because when you save it, when you protect it, when you invest it with calm, you're not just moving money. You're proving you can be consistent. You're proving you can be intentional. You're proving you can stop being a spectator and start becoming an owner. Now, let's make this real. Beginners often think investing is a complicated maze. Charts, jargon, 1,000 loud opinions fighting for your attention, and the internet doesn't help. It makes investing feel like a personality contest. Who can sound the smartest? Who can predict the fastest? Who can turn anxiety into entertainment? But the truth is calmer than that. A beginner doesn't need complexity. A beginner needs a simple plan that protects them from panic and builds confidence step by step. So let's start with the mindset before the mechanics. The goal of your first 400,000 isn't to get rich this month. The goal is to build a system you can repeat, because the first win in investing isn't a big profit. It's staying in the game long enough for time to start working on your side. And time is the quiet force most people underestimate. Everyone respects talent. Very few respect patience. Yet patience is what makes ordinary people wealthy. Let me give you a short human story. A young worker once told me he saved his first 100,000 and felt unstoppable. Not because it was a fortune, but because it was proof. Proof that he could sacrifice something today for a future he couldn't fully see yet. He wanted that feeling to grow fast, so he did what many beginners do. He searched for the hottest thing he could find. Because fear does something strange. It disguises itself as urgency. For a few weeks he was flying. His confidence rose with the numbers. He started dreaming and fast forward. Then the market turned. And he didn't just lose money, he lost trust in himself. That's the hidden danger of beginner investing, not volatility, but heartbreak. Because when you attach your self-worth to quick results, the market can feel like a judgment. So we build your first 100,000 plan with one sacred rule. You don't invest to impress people, you invest to protect your future self. Now, imagine your first 1,000 like a foundation. You don't build a skyscraper on a shaky base. You don't chase speed before stability. So here's a simple 3-part framework you can carry for life. Protect your stability. Build your ownership. Invest in your learning, because the market rewards calm, and calm is easier when your basics are covered. So before you even buy your first investment, if high interest debt is bleeding you every month, paying a chunk of that down may be the smartest return you can get. And if you have zero emergency buffer, building even a small cushion protects you from panic selling later. This isn't boring. This is wisdom. The people who survive storms aren't just bold, they're prepared. Now let's talk about the core idea for absolute beginners. You don't need to be brilliant to build wealth. You need to be consistent, and consistency becomes easier when your plan is simple. So I'm going to give you 3 clean paths for your first 100,000. Pick the one that fits your personality, not your ego, because your plan should match your temperament, not your fantasy. It's path 1, the kind of starter. So if your priority is stable growth with minimal stress, put the majority of your first 1,000 into broad, diversified, low-cost market exposure. This is your quiet foundation. You're not trying to pick the next miracle. You're not trying to win a bragging contest. You're buying a slice of human progress. You're saying, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be consistent. This path is for the person who wants to sleep well, the person who prefers steady results over dramatic stories, the person who understands that peace is a financial asset too. Path 2, the balanced builder. If you want growth, but you know your emotions can get loud during downturns, keep a strong, diversified core and reserve a small portion for stability. Not because you're afraid, but because you're wise enough to respect your own psychology. A beginner doesn't fail because their strategy is weak. They fail because their emotions overpower their strategy. So balance is not weakness. Balance is self-awareness. This path says, I want to grow and I want to stay calm while I grow. Path 3, the learner's edge. If curiosity is part of your nature, yes, you can allocate a small learning portion, a controlled space where you explore. But the rule is sacred. Your curiosity must never endanger your stability. That means your foundation stays your foundation, your experiment stays small, because your first $1 is not the time to gamble your confidence. It's the time to build it. Now, here's what I want you to notice. All 3 paths share the same hidden message. You don't win by being dramatic, you win by being durable. Durable is how wealth is built, not in one legendary week, but across boring months where you keep showing up. And this is where beginners get trapped. They think, I just want to make sure I'm picking the best thing. What they really mean is, I'm afraid of being wrong. But investing is one of the few places in life where humility beats brilliance. A little humility is protection, because the market does not reward ego. It rewards patience, and patience is easier when your plan isn't fragile. And I want to prepare you for a moment every investor meets. That first red week, that first ugly headline, that first morning you check your account and your stomach turns. This is where futures are either built or postponed, because your brain will try to sell your future to protect your present discomfort. And you'll rationalize it with a polite excuse. Maybe I should wait for a better time. But the truth is simple. There will never be a perfect time. There will only be your level of preparation. So you don't need a perfect market. You need a rule. Here's a simple one that protects beginners. Once you invest your first $1,000, commit to judging your plan in years, not weeks. The early stage of investing is not about proving you're a genius. It's about proving you're steady. While most people think wealth is math, it's not. Wealth is behavior repeated long enough to become identity. It's showing up when motivation fades. It's staying calm when the internet is screaming. It's learning the difference between noise and truth. That's why 2 people can buy the same investment and get different outcomes, because the difference isn't always what you buy. The difference is whether you panic. There's another quiet trap that steals beginners. Comparison. You see someone with a bigger portfolio, bigger wins, more confidence, and you start feeling late. Comparison is a thief with excellent manners. It doesn't announce itself. It just slowly drains your courage. So let me give you a line you should keep for life. You are not competing with other investors. You are competing with your old self, your old habits, your old fear, your old excuse. That said, I'll start later because later is expensive. Later costs you compounding. Later costs you confidence. Later costs you momentum. So when you invest your first $1 now, you're not just buying assets, you're buying momentum. You're buying proof that you can keep promises to yourself, and that is rare. Now let's anchor this in another human snapshot. Imagine 2 people. One starts with $4,000 and follows a simple plan. They add small amounts consistently. They don't panic. The other keeps waiting for the perfect setup, the perfect stock, the perfect moment. 3 years pass. The first person isn't flashy, but they're strong. Their confidence is quieter, but deeper. Their account isn't just growing, their identity is. At some point you realize this, the market doesn't just build wealth, it reveals character. It teaches patience, it teaches humility. It teaches you to stop mistaking noise for truth. And if you let it, it teaches you to respect time. Now I want to honor something real. Some of you are starting late. You might be thinking, I'm behind. I wasted years. I should have started earlier. Listen, regret is expensive, but it doesn't have to be permanent. The market doesn't ask for your past, it asks for your next decision. A calm beginner who starts today can outrun someone who started earlier, but never stayed consistent. So if you've been scared of money, if you felt shame for not knowing enough, hear this clearly. You don't need to be fearless to start. You need to be honest about your goals, honest about your risk tolerance, honest about the life you want to build, not just the lifestyle you want to show, because true wealth is quiet. It buys time, it protects your family, it gives you options, it lets you sleep. And I want you to understand the emotional truth behind that. Money is not just a number. It's a relationship. Relationship with safety, with self-respect, with freedom. That's why reckless investing doesn't just risk your account. It risks your peace. So your first $100,000 should be treated like something meaningful, like the beginning of a different life. And now picture your future self 5 years from now, not a fantasy version, a real one. Someone who isn't anxious every time a bill arrives. Someone who doesn't feel trapped by a paycheck. Someone who carries calm into the way they decide. That person is not built by one lucky trade. That person is built by small choices, protected by discipline. The first of those choices is your first $1,000. If you want a clean path for what comes next, keep it simple. Start with diversified, low-cost ownership. Build the habit of adding monthly. Keep your learning small and safe. Let time do its quiet work, because consistency is what turns a beginner into a long-term investor, and long-term investors are different. They don't chase validation. They don't need to win every week. They just keep building. This is why I say you don't need a complicated strategy to feel sophisticated. You need a simple strategy you can follow when you're tired, when you're stressed, when the market feels like a storm outside your window. Because a strategy you can't follow emotionally is not a strategy, it's a fantasy. Now let's talk about volatility again, not as a threat, but as training. The market will drop, the market will rise, the headlines will panic, the X will disagree. That isn't a flaw, that is the system. So the real question is not, can I predict what happens next? The real question is, can I stay calm no matter what happens next? Because calm is profitable, calm keeps you invested, calm keeps you consistent, calm keeps you from making desperate decisions. Here's a mindset that turns fear into strength. When the market dips early in your journey, it's not rejecting you, it's training you. It's asking, are you here for entertainment or for transformation? Entertainment demands constant excitement. Transformation requires patience. So decide your calm default. Your calm default is the plan you will follow, even when your emotions are messy, even when you feel uncertain, even when the world is loud, because your future will be built by the decisions you can still make on a hard day, not your best day. And here's your simplest definition of early success. Not that your first 1,000 becomes some dramatic story, but that your first 1,000 becomes the beginning of a habit, a lifestyle, a calm confidence that says, I'm not lucky, I'm consistent. One day, this amount will look small compared to what you build, but you will never forget it because this is where your future learned to breathe. This is where your fear stopped driving. This is where you stopped waiting for confidence and started earning it. So tonight or tomorrow morning, open your notes app, write down 3 things. Why you want wealth, the honest reason. What scares you about investing so you can disarm it? And your simple plan for this first 100,000. Because when your plan is simple, your emotions stay manageable. And when your emotions are manageable, your future gets stronger. This is educational, not personal financial advice, but it is a personal reminder. Your future deserves your first step. So take your first 1,000 and invest it with a calm heart. Choose simplicity, choose consistency, choose a plan you can repeat when life is loud. Because real abundance isn't just money, it's peace, it's options, it's the quiet confidence of knowing